Welcome to Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio, how to survive hidden healthcare and hospital dangers with author, speaker, and your host, Pat Rulo. Pat has over 20 years experience as a professional public speaker, and for the next hour, she's going to be your healthcare and hospital survival guide. Each week, you will say, oh, as Pat exposes and explores little-known hospital hazards, delves into the deep waters of dangerous healthcare practices, picks the brains of her good-looking and influential guests, all guaranteed to keep you and your family safe in today's fragmented healthcare system. And now your host, Pat Rulo.
I can't bear it no more, baby. I got too much pride. But I'll survive. Keep on.
Hello? My name is Joe. Is this Pat Rulo, the host of Speak Up and Stay Alive RadiOh?
Why, yes, it is.
Who are you?
Who am I? I am you. I am every person who has ever been in a hospital or doctor's office and has received less than acceptable treatment.
Who are you?
I am you. The person who got an infection during a simple outpatient procedure.
Wait, who are you?
I am you, the patient whose questions are ignored, who struggles to speak to the doctor as he or she has one foot out the door. I am the missed heart attack, the hospital-acquired infection, the wrong diagnosis, the unanswered call button.
Oh, so you're all about me.
This show is not about pointing a finger at hospitals, doctors, or nurses. It's about you, your family, your friends, and your loved ones. It's about becoming informed of all the hospital hazards, what they are, how and why they happen, and what you can do about them. This show is about empowerment. It's about doing everything you can to stay safe during any and every healthcare encounter. If enough people begin to speak up, together, each of us can alter the current precarious path of today's unsafe healthcare practices. Today, get ready for the fastest radio hour ever. So much to say and do and share with you. Time flies when you're having this much fun. So take off your watch, unplug your clock, find your best and most comfy seat, and devote these next few minutes of your life with us. We promise to take good care of you. And now for the healthcare hazard of the week. And today, we're going beyond the bull, the bull, the bull, the bull, the bull, the bull. We've all heard of the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act. Because this is not a political show, I'm not going to discuss it much further than to say this. Guaranteed health insurance for all does not equal guaranteed health care. Just because you get something for free doesn't mean it's worth something. What it does do is it enlarges the circle of people already subjected to our current fragmented and flawed disease management system. And notice sometimes people don't call it a healthcare system. That's because sometimes what happens has very little to do with the care of your health. So here's what I've been hearing more and more lately. Not that it's any kind of revelation, but now more than ever, we must take personal action towards preventative strategies to keep ourselves out of the healthcare or disease management system, out of doctors' offices, out of hospitals. And it's not always about pointing a finger out, but rather pointing a finger back at ourselves. What can we do to stay out of the hospital? What can we do today? Well, it's always been about lifestyle choices. Yeah, I know you've heard this before, but perhaps today is going to be the day that you start to take heed. Think about the foods you eat, your exercise habits, your mental attitude. The majority of today's chronic diseases have roots in our lifestyle choices, and that is just a fact. I've talked previously about how today's food supply is in many cases genetically modified and how the FDA and other agencies who supposedly look out for us do not even require that this type of information be included on the package. How chemical company and big pharmacy muckety-mucks move back and forth between their jobs as CEOs and then serve as advisors at the FDA. It's clearly a ridiculous and blatant conflict of interest. So let's talk about food for a moment. I've come up with the Speak Up and Stay Alive solution to safe and healthy eating, and it's called STARR with 2 R's, and it stands for Stop, Think, Ask, Research, and Refuse. What do I mean? Okay, Pepsi has come out with a new formula, 60% less sugar, but the same great taste. Stop and think about that statement. Don't just accept it. Then ask, how could it taste the same with 60% less sugar? Is it magic? Well, I don't know. Maybe it is, but let me research that before I pour it into my body. Aha! Now that I've researched it, guess what? I don't like what I learned. So here comes the final R in my STARR approach. Refuse to buy it. This is how we can make a difference in our food supply. Simply refuse to buy this garbage. Let your wallet do the talking. Unlike the healthcare system where we as consumers have little to say about prescription drug prices or doctor or surgery costs, the consumer voice, or rather the consumer dollar, does matter when it comes to food buying habits. When you go into the grocery store and find that famous boxed mac and cheese that it's loaded with dangerous yellow food dyes, don't buy it. Read the labels. What do all those catch-all words mean? What is natural flavor? Sounds good, right? It's natural. Well, dog poop is a natural flavor. Does that count? And what are, in quotes, and other ingredients? If we begin to ask and then refuse to buy, guess what? The grocery store will stop selling these suspicious products and makers will be forced to clean up their act. Oh, but let's get back to Pepsi. If what I'm going to tell you doesn't make you stop, think, ask, research, and refuse, then I don't know what will. There exists a high-tech research and development business that is dedicated to finding new flavors to reduce sugar and reduce salt intake. Well, that sounds good, right? I mean, we all know that too much sugar and too much salt is no good for us. Well, according to an article in the New Yorker published in May 2011, Pepsi's New York plant has a robot fitted with human taste buds to predict what we consumers might like. They inject 4 genetic taste receptors into cultured cells and then hardwire those cells to the robot's computer. In this way, the robot can sample 40,000 flavors per day in order to come up with an acceptable flavor. So back to the way that Pepsi can create a product with 60% less sugar, but with the same taste sensation. And we almost need a drum roll for this one. Part of the secret involves the use of human kidney cells known as HEK293, originating from an aborted baby. Now, apparently, don't panic yet, no kidney cells are actually in the finished product, but rather they are part of the process used to detect new flavors. This is referred to as enhancers or other ingredients that work by triggering receptors on your tongue and tricking your taste buds into tasting and sensing sweetness. Well, does anyone out there like to be tricked by aborted fetus kidneys? Upon further research, I found this. These human embryonic kidney cells originated harvested from a healthy, electively aborted fetus sometime in the 1970s. The HEK identifies the cells as kidney cells, and the 293 denotes that the cells came from the 293rd experiment. Well, I don't know about you, but I want nothing to do with a company, a brand, a drink, or anything else that fools around with robots genetically altering flavors, aborted fetuses, human kidneys, or 293 experiments. And I'm not picking on Pepsi. Nestle is involved as well as other companies, and even pop stars like Beyonce. Woohoo, she cashed in on a $50 million deal pushing the Pepsi brand. Think of all the young, impressionable fans who idolize this person. So she might be a star, but did she star? Did she stop, think, ask, research, and refuse? Well, as I always say, follow the money. Just as in genetically modified foods, I'm sure that sometime in the future, we will find that this bizarre flavor enhancement business will cause unforeseen and negative changes in the health of future generations. So the lesson here, folks, is STARR with 2 R's. One way to stay out of our distressed medical system is to think prevention. Stay out of the hospital. Take care of yourself. STARR. Stop. Think. Ask. Research and refuse. I know I'm going to. And how's that for going beyond the bull? And with that, let's hear some legal news you can use. Listen as I spend the next 2 minutes with Pat Schraff, an elder law attorney at Schraff & King, located on Somme Center Road in Willoughby Hills, Ohio. She always has the answers. Pat, what is a long-term care ombudsman?
A long-term care ombudsman is a person who will help to represent the rights of individuals who are consumers of long-term care, whether that's at home, in an assisted living facility, or in a nursing home. All those who receive services either in their home, in long-term care facilities, in assisted living facilities, need to know that they have an advocate in the long-term care ombudsman. The long-term care ombudsman is there to help them resolve complaints. I think it's interesting to note that 50% or more of people in nursing homes do not have family members to help represent their rights and help to resolve concerns that they have regarding their care.
So this is a voice for the people. Where can we find the ombudsman?
The local ombudsman, which is located in Cleveland, represents Geauga, Cuyahoga, Lake, Medina, and Lorain counties. The state ombudsman has offices throughout the state of Ohio, though, so there are regional offices for the long-term care ombudsman in Ohio.
If our listeners want to find out more about the long-term care ombudsman, where can we go to get additional information?
They can receive information at info@ltco.org or by calling the ombudsman at 216-696-2719 or 800-365-3112.
And if our listeners need help with that and want to talk with you personally, how can they find out more information about you and Schraff and King?
They can reach us at 440-585-1600 or at our website, schraffking.com.
Thank you, Pat. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Is your home making you sick? We are surrounded by electronic gadgets, cell phones, cell towers, Wi-Fi, broadband, wireless keyboards, mice, printers, smart meters, smart appliances, alarm systems, and so on. These devices are convenient, but are they safe? And more importantly, could these be damaging your health right in your own home? Well, if you've listened to this program before, you already know the answer. There is good evidence that these devices are not harmless. So let's quickly review. It's a fact. The human body absorbs electromagnetic fields. It's a fact. Studies have linked electromagnetic fields to a wide range of symptoms, from insomnia, tiredness, poor concentration, memory problems, all the way to cancer. It's a fact. Some people seem to be more at risk of developing symptoms than others. However, just because you cannot see or immediately feel the effects does not mean that you are not affected. It's a fact. As technology and these devices continue to take over every corner of our world, more and more of us will be affected. However, there are things you can do to reduce the risks that you and your family face, especially within your own home, your safe haven, your sanctuary. And that is where Healthy Home Consultants come in. They will come to your home with highly specialized and accurate meters to assess the level of electromagnetic fields and radiation in and around your home. These can vary massively from house to house on the same street and even from place to place inside your home. But without an accurate assessment, you may be living in a seriously polluted home and not even know it. When you have this information, then you can take action. The folks at Healthy Home will advise you on ways you can take to minimize your exposure and your risk, most of which cost nothing or very little. You can even schedule a follow-up visit to your home to assess what differences you have made to reduce your exposure. And many smart home buyers request a survey before buying a new home. Imagine discovering that there's a hidden cell tower nearby or that your next-door neighbor's lifestyle or equipment may affect your property. It only takes about an hour, and you'll receive a written report before your Healthy Home Consultant leaves to remind you of the healthy and not so healthy areas of your home and what to do about them. And for a limited time, I'll even come out with them to meet you and to help explain the findings. Call me, and I'll pass on the information. 440-725-5462. Don't feel like this. When you can feel like this. Schedule a Healthy Home consultation today, and I'll come too to meet you and share what I know about healthy homes. Call 440-725-5462. That's 440-725-5462. And remember, a healthy home is a happy home. You are listening to Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio. I am your hostess, Pat Rulo, and sometimes I meet someone so delightful that I just know I have to share with you. And that is the case with today's guest, Kathy Kastner. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Kathy Kastner's aha discovery moment to her passion was in prenatal class, where she didn't understand the jargon or the words. So from there, she used her talents to identify and fill gaps in health education. Using research and her production experience as an on-camera producer-reporter, Kathy created videos for expectant parents, which eventually became the Health Television System Incorporated with the parent channel, and then Health TV, broadcasting in hospitals across North America. In 2008, Kathy launched Ability for Life, a website dedicated to adult children who are caring for aging parents. This eventually led to a hospice and palliative care medicine Twitter chat where she realized how little she knew about medical interventions at life's end. So Best Endings is the culmination of this journey and the resources she's found along the way. So here right now to share all she knows, welcome to the show, Kathy.
Thank you, Pat. Delighted to be here again.
Yay. So let's begin by talking about your interest in helping people deal with death and dying issues. Tell us how you got involved with that and why it's something we should be thinking about.
I got involved with this through a Twitter chat, which is actually how I found out about you, too. A Twitter chat that was devoted to a dignified, respectful end of life. And since I'm not a healthcare professional, I found myself wondering what they were talking about with their own terminology and language. Many of us know the term DNR, which means do not resuscitate, but there were other terms like code and PEG and NG. So I put forward to these good tweeters, can you explain what the heck it is you're talking about? And in doing that, they opened a door to a world of options and questions to ask and nuances about medical interventions as we wind down. And I'm not sure if you are aware of this, but we're all going to wind down in one way or another. So I thought while I'm at my healthiest, I would try and find out as much as I could about what may happen when the end of my life begins, which, technically is when you're born. That's what some of these religions say. As soon as you're born, you're getting one day closer to death. Personally, I don't feel that way, but I learned of the things that I love and don't want to relinquish at the end of life, like Jamocha almond fudge. I just love chewing the nuts and feeling the ice cream go down my throat, maybe having a hamburger afterwards, so that if I cannot do that as my life is winding down, I don't want to be given any artificial feeding supplements in any way, shape, or form. But I found that generally, if you're not a healthcare professional, one does not think about medical decisions in the context of your own quality of life. So in exploring end-of-life issues, I've really had to self-reflect and figure out what is it about life that I like, including Jamocha almond fudge and hamburgers. And so that's been very interesting, and I thought, I bet I am not alone in my lack of knowledge, confusion, questions, concerns. I am going to take advantage of technology and blog about it. And as I was blogging and asking my tweeters things like, where does the general public know about CPR? I was given links to studies that have shown that we real people, that is non-healthcare professionals, really just do know about most medical treatments from watching TV. In spite of all the reality shows out there, TV is not reality. So my blog began to get visitors, both healthcare professionals and non-healthcare professionals, and that's Best Endings was born I thought, why not open the website to allow me to put research in and patient forums and videos and discussions and tweet chats. And what else are there? Patient testimonials and even narratives from healthcare professionals who have been in the business, as it were, of being with patients as they die. And man, oh man, is it interesting. And it's filled with humor. There are lots of healthcare professionals, patients, and families who rely upon humor to get them through the end, when they're not going to be around anymore. So I tell people, dying is us. Anything you want to know about dying, I'm your man. I extend that to you too, Pat.
Thank you. And your website is bestendings.com?
It is. Okay. I thought I would inject some positivity into a time when there is often anxiety, grieving. One of the things that I found out is that many people stay alive, if one can actually believe you can do this, because their children or loved ones are not ready for them to go. And you will probably know this, too, that often people will come and keep vigil over, whether it's at a home or a hospital or hospice, over someone who is at life's end. They become exhausted, they leave to get a coffee, and when they come back, their person is gone. And it turns out their person has left. The healthcare professionals know they don't want their loved ones to see their last breath. But the loved ones are left feeling like they've let their loved one down. There are many interesting, I found, disconnects and confusions and disappointments that I'm thinking if you know about this beforehand, they can be resolved before it's too late.
You're right. So if we have some of this understanding ahead of time, it could save all of us, including the person who is in the process of dying, a lot of grief.
Yeah, absolutely. I just saw a video online of a woman diagnosed with kidney disease or kidney failure. She was a nurse who had watched many a patient die and her mother was on dialysis. She decided she did not want to have dialysis, and it was harder on her daughter and her best friend to accept that than it was for her to make the decision. They wanted her to be kept alive by whatever means possible. So, yeah, we have our families to reconcile with, too, and I'm hoping that you have given yourself permission or forgiven yourself or not beating yourself up for not having been there when your dad died. It's a big one. That's a hard one.
It is. He was actively dying, and we would never have that conversation. He said to me, "Hey, Patty, I think this is it." And I'm, "Oh, no, don't worry, Dad." And how foolish of me to try to cover that up when, in fact, had I been an informed and empowered person, we could have talked about it because obviously he wanted to. So I think what you're doing is huge for people to begin to think about this and not be afraid of it. And so to go to your website, bestendings.com, and begin to take a look at this and gather some understanding.
Well, thank you. There's another video I linked to about a woman whose mother did what it sounded like your dad did. She'd say, I can feel myself winding down. I know this is the end. And understandably, her daughter did not want to be going down that path. Eventually, the mom and daughter went to hospice. And the first thing the hospice said was, "Do you want to talk about it?" And the mom burst into tears and said, "I've been trying to get my daughter to talk about it." And the daughter said, "I couldn't do it, Mom. I just couldn't do it." So they're often hard on both ends. You don't want to be, what can you say to a dad who may want to talk about it? "Yes, Dad, I'm ready for you to go." It's tricky when you love someone.
It is.
And presumably you liked your dad.
I love my dad. He was my hero.
Yeah, I feel the same. I think daughters and fathers have a special relationship.
He's with me every day. He was a good man.
And I feel the same way about my dad. My dad will be with me forever.
Absolutely.
For that very reason. How lovely.
Yeah. And it's another interesting thing I found is that I feel like I learn more from him now that he's not here than when he was here, which is kind of an interesting idea.
That is. I think that's a topic of another discussion, don't you?
I think we have many topics for discussion here, and we've got so many to go to. I love the topic that we're on right now, but I want to talk a little bit about health literacy and about how as lay people, sometimes we don't understand medical words and jargon and diagnosis. Can you give us some examples of those?
Yes, absolutely. My first experience with recognizing that even though I am not stupid, I felt completely stupid, when my chiropractor noticed that I was walking differently, and I said, yeah, I'm feeling better about walking. And she said, you've changed your gait. Well, in my mind, I didn't hear what she said after that because I left her office, and in my mind I went home to figure out where the gate was.
Jeremy's laughing.
Well, she thought nothing of it. And then I'm on the board of the College of Occupational Therapists, and they're a wonderful group, OTs, but they kept talking about wound care. These are two single-syllable words, wound and care, right?
Right.
Everybody knows what wound is. Everybody knows what care is. But put together, again, in my mind's eye, I'm seeing gunshot wounds or knife wounds or people coming back from the war. They're talking about bed sores.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I said, I hope you wouldn't use the words wound care with the client and say, we're mystified. Absolutely mystified. And I realized that healthcare professionals, the best and the most well-meaning of them, are trained to talk medicalese. It is part of the schooling that you must use the right terminology in your classes to show that you know what you're talking about. So my thinking is that when they get out, they've forgotten what it's like to talk to a real human being. So I put together a series called 10-Second Med School on YouTube. And in that, I have not only gait and wound care, but Mass. I don't know about you, but my best Catholic friends go to Mass every Sunday.
Mass,
what
yes.
does that have to do with medical care? Well, if you've got a Mass in your breast or any place else, it's not Sunday. It's not going to talk to God. Or maybe it is.
Yeah.
Another one is stool. Stool is one of my faves.
Stool?
Stool,
yeah
stool, because I've got several stools in my kitchen. But when I'm asked for a stool sample, I have to ask, what do you mean by stool? That was, the first time that happened to me. But I'm not alone with words spoken with such authority that you figure you have to know them. Otherwise, you're going to reveal yourself as stupid.
As stupid, yeah.
Right? And we don't want, no one wants to be seen as stupid, but, the medical world is a different language, and each condition that one has requires its own language, as I've learned. When I had my former business, which is a television network in hospitals, one of the videos we produced was on hypertension. Well, I asked people, which isn't a one-syllable word, but it is all over the media, but most people that I spoke to, their definition of hypertension could go into a Saturday Night Live skit. And when I realized that hypertension and high blood pressure meant the same thing, even though I don't actually know the mechanism of high blood pressure, I thought at least we understand the concept of high and blood and pressure. But it is a leap for many healthcare professionals, so I just suggest to people, if they don't understand the words, it's their problem, not yours, and ask about it. That's the only way you're going to be protecting yourself. Ask about it. The other thing that 10-Second Med School has are confusing medication instructions, like take with food. Well, for me, food is milk in my coffee.
Mm.
What's food for you?
Yeah.
But it's different for each of us, and this milk in my coffee is actually going to be contraindicated for the drug that I'm taking. Well, who's responsible for finding out how these medical interventions, treatments, procedures are going to fit into my life? It's really up to me,
right,
to be doing that, because I'm the one that's going to have to live with it. And the first time I realized that was when my daughter was 8 or 9 months old, and she was prescribed for, I can't remember what it was, but the medication prescription was for 10 drops of something or another. And I thought, does this mean 10 teeny, tiny, barely there drops at the end of the dropper?
Mm-hmm.
Or does it mean 10 dropperfuls?
Right.
Well, this amounts to a potential medication error. And I went for the dropperfuls. To this day, 26 years later, I'm convinced that is what brought on her mild ADHD, because antihistamine, that's what it was, and huge amounts of antihistamine in a tiny kid. Oh. I will carry that guilt to my grave. But did I phone anyone and say, do you mean tiny drops or do you mean dropperfuls? I should have. That's what I should have done. So I think that as health becomes more complicated, as we live longer with many conditions, it behooves all of us to think about our lives and our questions and to think about how it all fits into our life. Don't you?
Absolutely. Everything you're saying makes perfect sense. There's so much more to talk about. Where can our listeners learn more about you and what you do?
Well, certainly Best Endings is a great place to start. Thank you, bestendings.com. I'm also going to be on a TED Talk. I don't know if your listeners will know what TED, which stands for Technology, Entertainment, and Digital. And that will be live streamed at the Twitter handle TEDx at York U, like York University.
York, okay.
And I was invited there because of my journey to explore end-of-life issues when end-of-life is not a fear for me right now. And I think the other place to learn about it is here. Yeah, I think you've done a great job. I think they should all come back and listen to you as often as possible, don't you?
I absolutely think so. Yes. Kathy, you are a treat. We love having you on the show today. Do you have any final words of advice for us?
I think about things, talk about things, learn about things as relates to health. And health is it's an incremental process of learning. Don't expect that you're going to learn everything you need to know in one fell swoop. You're only human, but you will get smarter the more you think about it and the more you talk about it.
Kathy, thank you for sharing your wisdom, and hopefully you'll come back sometime.
Okay, thanks so much, Pat. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Know you've been a good friend.
Let's spend the next 2 minutes with my friend, Jack Warren from Comfort Keepers, a local and reputable senior home care service. Well, Jack, what services do you offer to assist family members with the difficult but necessary conversation about driving?
It's difficult to start this conversation with your parents. One of the last bastions of independence is our ability to drive. And we need to be honest with ourselves. If we have some shortcomings, we need to express them to our families and admit, I'm sorry, I can't drive at night anymore. I'm sorry, but I shouldn't be driving in heavy traffic. You need to be honest with yourself, because it's not only your safety that's at risk, it's also a number of other people who are out on the road with you, or pedestrians. So we have a small program that we call Beyond Driving with Dignity. And it's a conversation that I can have with an elderly person who is still driving to see if it's time to retire from the driver's seat to the passenger seat. And if we can help you make that transition smoothly. We don't want you to give up independence. We want you to still have the same freedoms that you once had. We just find a different way to coordinate it.
And be safe at the same time.
And be safe at the same time, absolutely.
Well, thanks for joining us today, Jack. We look forward to your weekly advice.
Thanks, Pat.
Be sure to contact my friend Jack Warren from Comfort Keepers, a certified Beyond Driving with Dignity professional. He knows how to ensure a smooth and successful transition from the driver's seat to the passenger side. For more information or to schedule a free in-home consultation, call them toll-free, 866-942-1960. That's 866-942-1960. Or you can visit them online at comfortkeepers.com. And be sure to let them know that I sent you. Comfort Keepers, keeping the comforts of home. You are listening to Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio. Now you can join us every Saturday morning from 7 to 8 Eastern on AM 1420 WHK and from 9 to 10 Eastern on AM 1220 WHKW. Or listen to us live online from anywhere in the world at the station's websites. I am your hostess, Pat Rouleau, so happy to spend this hour with you to help you survive any healthcare or hospital encounter.
Shocking news from around the world.
And today we have the most special contestant with us, the editor-in-chief of the fabulous magazine, Mountain Living Magazine. Live and here in the studio today. Welcome, Christine.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, I know you came from Denver for a long, fun weekend. Little did you know that you would be playing shocking news from around the world. So do you mind joining Bob and Jeremy?
No, not at all. I'm excited.
All right, here's how it goes. I will read a healthcare-related statement. The three of you will use your keen sense of reasoning to decide if the statement is true, or as we call it, a shock, or is it false, and we call it a crock. So is the statement a shock?
Wow.
Or a crock?
Oh.
All right, guys, you ready, Jeremy?
Oh, I'm so ready for this.
Bob?
Oh, let's go for it.
Chris?
Ready.
All right. The Speak Up and Stay Alive shocking news number 1. A high-profile bagpipe player from rural England is back in tune after a nearly fatal infection with fungal pneumonia that doctors say sprang from spores that grew inside his beloved instrument. Is this a shock or is it a crock?
I gotta say that's a shock. Oh, I could only imagine what is in that instrument.
What do you think, Chris?
I think it's true, too. I think it's a shock.
It's definitely a shock.
Oh, you guys are right. It is true. It is a shock.
Ugh.
Wow.
Oh, there's little research on infection rates among musicians, but I recently read that a 35-year-old man suffered from so-called trombone player's lung. He had a bad cough that lasted for 15 years, and it finally stopped once he started disinfecting the trombone with rubbing alcohol.
Ugh.
And another musician, a 48-year-old saxophone player, also suffered from lung problems triggered by molds until he started washing his mouthpiece. The moral of the story is, all you pipers out there, keep your instruments as clean as a whistle. What do you guys?
That's why I play the drums.
Yeah, Chris is quite a drum player. You have to bring your drum set with us next time. What do you think of trombone lung, Jeremy?
Oh, wow. That's something I think I want to stay away from. And I would, bleach whatever I could do to clean those instruments. Oh.
I know. I never thought about that, did you? All right. Is this fun or what?
Yes.
Don't say or what, Bob.
I'm going to say or what.
All right. The Speak Up and Stay Alive shocking news number 2. Studies in Australia show that eating celery burns more calories than it creates, making it a negative calorie food. What do you guys think?
What do we think, guys? I'm saying that's got to be a crock, right?
I've heard that before, so I think it's a shock.
I think it's a shock.
2 shocks and a crock.
Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
Guess what? It's completely a crock.
Oh.
Yes.
Although it is often proposed as a negative calorie food due to its low calorie content and its high water density and its impressive fiber content, but with all of that chewing and digesting, it does burn calories. It just doesn't burn a lot. And people don't just eat celery. Think of all the dipping that goes on. You know, they're dipping it in cream cheese and peanut butter. So
And ranch, everything, yeah.
You've got it. So it's okay to keep on crunching that celery, folks, right? Okay, the Speak Up and Stay Alive shocking news number 3. In a poll, 97% of 783 doctors in the United Kingdom had given a patient a sugar pill or an injection of salty water rather than a real medicine at some time in their career. Is that a shock or is it a crock?
I'm going to say it's a crock.
I think it's a crock, too. Where would they just have this sugar water sitting around?
I'm going to actually go with shock.
And guess what, Jeremy?
Wow.
I'm correct again.
You are correct.
Watch out, you two.
Shockingly true. 1 in 100 of them said that they did this at least once a week. It's called the placebo effect, when the patient feels better despite taking a medication that has no active ingredient. But here's the thing. The effect is based on the patient's expectation of a cure. And it works best if someone just has pain. So it's not just pills. There's also fake acupuncture has been shown to reduce the severity of headaches and migraines.
Wow.
It's amazing of like the psychology of that, and it really does work. A lot of it is just in your head.
It absolutely is. But how would you feel, though, if you thought your doctor was giving you a pill and it really was? I mean, you think they should be doing that?
Not if they're charging you for the real thing.
Oh, I didn't think about the
Good
charge.
point. Yeah, wait a second.
How much does salty water cost,
Yeah.
huh? Good idea. All right, the Speak Up and Stay Alive shocking news number 4. The World Health Organization recommends limiting sodium to less than 2,000 milligrams a day, and the American Heart Association says 1,500 a day. But global sodium intake from commercially prepared food and salt added during our average cooking after we cook averages nearly 4,000 milligrams a day in 2010. Is that a shock or is it a crock?
Sadly, it's a shock.
I agree. I think that's a shock.
I think it is a shock, too.
You're right. It's a shockingly true statement.
Wow.
In the United States, the average intake was about 3,600 milligrams of sodium a day. All countries except Kenya exceeded the American Heart Association's recommendation of 1,500. Heart disease is the number one cause of death in the world. Too much salt intake raises blood pressure. High blood pressure is one of the major contributors to the development of heart disease. So step away from the salt shakers, folks.
Yeah.
Right? It's just another way to stay out of the hospital. Do you guys think you eat more than 2,000 milligrams of salt a day?
No.
Probably.
Bob, I'd say yeah.
I'd say yes.
Yeah. Chris?
I don't think I do.
No, you eat well. You're a good...
I try to be good.
You do try to be good. What about you, Jeremy?
And sadly, I am a pretty bad eater, so yeah, I think I'm in Bob's category. I'm probably right up there.
Those chocolate chip cookies get him.
Oh, we bring...
Yeah, you guys.
Trying to kill the producer here. Sorry, Jeremy. All right, let's Speak Up and Stay Alive. Shocking news number 5. Food packages with green calorie labels may lead people to see nutrition-poor foods in a healthier light. Is that a shock or a crock?
That one's a shock.
I agree. I think that's a shock.
I'm going to say it's a crock.
You guys, it is a shock.
Wow.
It's another way that advertisers subconsciously manipulate our buying decisions. A Cornell researcher says in the current issue of the journal Health Communication that consumers are more likely to perceive a candy bar as more healthful when it has a green calorie label compared to when it has a red one, even though the number of calories are the same. And green labels increase perceived healthfulness of foods, especially among consumers who place a high importance on eating healthy. For example, M&Ms and Snickers, they have a green front of packaging calorie flags on the front that are particularly conspicuous to consumers at point of purchase. So I'm sitting here, and I mentioned this to you earlier. I bought a bottle of iced tea. And
I see that.
And I said to them, right on the front, it said unsweetened, and right at the top, it's in dark green.
Mm-hmm.
Figure that's healthy, right?
Right. Yeah, I guess we think green is natural. And
I was duped.
Again, it's interesting the psychology of the thing, and I know McDonald's has the same thing where they've done research where red and yellow gets people in the mood to eat and hungry. It's just amazing how the brain works like that.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Well, that's why we need to be aware of these things so that we can not be tricked. Right, Bob?
You got it.
All right.
No trickies.
No tricks for us. All right, the last Speak Up and Stay Alive shocking news number 6. The world-famous radio hostess of Speak Up and Stay Alive, I guess that would be me, has discovered the safe way to eat that just might keep you out of the hospital, and it's called Moon. Is that a shock or a crock?
Knowing you, I'm going to go with that's a shock.
Chris?
I guess that's a shock.
I'm going to say it's a shock, but I don't know what you're doing.
No, it's a crock.
Oh.
Oh, man.
It's not Moon, it's called STARR. With 2 R's, and here's what I say. Before you buy any food, before you eat any food, especially shopping, you got to stop. That's the S. You have to think. That's the T. You have to ask. What is this? What am I eating? Do some research. And if you don't like what you find out, the final R is refuse. Simply refuse to buy it. The only way to stop manufacturers from destroying our food and our health is to refuse to purchase their products. So I'm going to say boycott and hit them with your purse. Well, not yours, Jeremy.
Can I throw my wallet at him?
Throw your wallet at him.
Deal.
As long as it's got money, and I'll be behind you.
Oh, man.
Well, thank you, boys and girl, for playing our second ever shocking news from around the world. Can we hear our little soundbite?
Shocking news from around the world.
Thank
Love
you.
that.
Thank you, Chris, for being with us today.
Yes, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you, Bobby.
You're welcome.
And Jeremy.
Always happy to be here.
I like that shocking news from around the world.
Got it. Coming up, more of what you've come to expect from America's favorite healthcare and hospital survival radio show, Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio.
Wow.
When it comes to chiropractic care, many people shy away and have anxiety about having their body contorted or their necks twisted. At Roediger Chiropractic, you can relax. Dr. Roediger uses a gentle, low-force chiropractic tool known as the activator to make adjustments along the spine. Listen as I spend the next 2 minutes with my friend, Dr. Tad Roediger. He's quick, easy, and painless. So, Dr. Roediger, what is the ultimate goal of a chiropractic adjustment?
Well, since there's 24 movable bones in the spine, and they stack on top of each other, and they protect the spinal cord, which is like the tail of the brain. It looks much like a horse's tail. It protects the spinal cord, and if the vertebrae in the spine get out of alignment, they can close down the openings that the nerves come out of off the spinal cord and impair those nerves and not allow those nerves to work at 100%. If those nerves don't work at 100%, wherever those nerves go will not work at 100%. Might be your arm and your fingers, might be the head causing headaches, might be the legs causing numbness or tingling down the legs, but it could be your heart, your lungs, your stomach, your intestines. So the goal of a chiropractic adjustment is to allow the nervous system to work as close to 100% as possible. If you've never thought about having chiropractic care, try it. Or get checked at least to see if it might be something that might benefit you. You never know what medical ailment it might help.
And I thank you so much for sharing your advice with us today, and we look forward to your return next week.
Oh, thank you for having me, Pat. This has been awesome.
I encourage you to visit Dr. Roediger for a consultation. Call him for an appointment at 440-285-0756. Dr. Roediger is located in Chardon, Ohio at the Village Station, 401 South Street, just 1/2 mile south of downtown Chardon off of Route 44. Or you can always call him at 440-285-0576. You are listening to Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio. I am Pat Rulo, your hostess and author of the book, Speak Up and Stay Alive, The Patient Advocate Hospital Survival Guide, available at all of our live speaking events or at our website, speakupandstayalive.com. That's where you can also locate radio show times, dates, and station information. That's speakupandstayalive.com. Well, today we talked about a simple way to stay out of the hospital, and that is to think about what you eat. You wouldn't put sugar water into your gas tank and expect your car to run now, would you? So when shopping for food, remember STARR. Stop, think, ask, research, and refuse. And if you don't know what's in your food or how it's grown or what's added to it, simply refuse to buy it. It's so basic and easy to do. Talk with your wallet. And our guest, Kathy Kastner, shared her website, bestendings.com, as a way to begin to think about dying and ultimately living. And we hope you enjoyed our shocking news from around the world with our special guest, Christine. Now, if you missed some of today's show, you are taking a crazy risk. When you join us each week, you may be adding years to your life or to the life of someone you know and love. So set your alarm clocks for Saturday mornings and tune in. And if you want to hear the show again, or if you want to replay it for yourself or a friend in need, simply go to the radio link at the speakupandstayalive.com website to listen to today's program. You might want to do that anyway, just to help you remember more of today's exceptional information. So start your week with an O. Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio. That's next Saturday morning, where you can find us in Cleveland, Ohio, from 7 to 8 Eastern on AM 1420 WHK, and from 9 to 10 Eastern on AM 1220 WHKW. Or listen live via the internet. Check the speakupandstayalive.com website to find out how. In the meantime, I hope you have a happy and a healthy week. I am Pat Rulo, and I am your guide to safe and successful healthcare and hospital encounters.
The information provided in today's broadcast is for informational purposes only and was not intended for use as diagnosis or treatment of a health problem or as a substitute for consulting a licensed medical professional. If you missed part of today's show or just want to share the information with friends, you can download a copy of the show at speakupandstayalive.com. That's speakupandstayalive.com. Want even more information? Purchase a copy of Pat's book at the Speak Up and Stay Alive website. Once again, it's speakupandstayalive.com.
This is Pat Rulo. When you get a chance, become a friend and like us on Facebook. We're called Speak Up and Stay Alive. Then post your questions and comments on our Facebook wall. We may read them next week. Who else do you know who can benefit from this life-saving information? You can keep your group, club, business, or church safe from hospital hazards. I speak live and in person, too. Our events are fun, fast-paced, interactive, and jam-packed with serious information. Your crowd will love it. Just email me at speakupandstayalive.com or call 440-725-5462. Until next week, remember to ask others to wash their hands. You have to speak up and stay alive. Call me, email me.
I'll survive. I'll survive. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Is your home stressing you out? Are your appliances and gadgets damaging your health? Are you concerned that modern technology could be ruining your and your family's health? So I'm suggesting that you have a healthy home consultation to identify problem areas in your home. It takes about an hour, and you will be given a comprehensive report that includes full recommendations on how to reduce the negative impacts of electric fields, magnetic fields, and radio frequency fields. Turn your home into a healthy, healing, and safe environment. And for a limited time, I'll even come out with them to meet you and help explain the findings. Don't feel like this. When you can feel like this. Schedule a healthy home consultation today, and I'll come too to meet you and share what I know about healthy homes. Call 440-725-5462. That's 440-725-5462. And remember, a healthy home is a happy home.